All right.
All right, gentlemen. So typically, guys, this is a 3-day finance class, right? So we have a finance school in Jupiter, not too far from you guys here. It's typically a 3-day, we put you in a hotel for 3 days, or sometimes if the guys don't live too far, they prefer to just drive, but you're there for 3 days. We go to 3 full days of material. At the end, you have this whole presentation memorized, you do it in front of the camera, and then you get a nice big certificate. Obviously, due to COVID and some of the things going on in 2020, it's been a little tough to do the actual classes there. So we're coming to you guys and trying to spread up the time to get you going. So I will do my absolute best to keep this under 90 minutes. Just a disclaimer, you're my first 90-minute class. I have done many classes, but I have never done a 90-minute class. So if at any point you feel that I'm talking too much and you see the clock ticking, feel free to give me a reminder, because I'm used to having 3 days to go over all of this. Before I introduce myself, since we only have a couple of you, tell me a little bit about you, my man. Give me your name, where you're from, how long you've been in the car business, and why you do what you do.
My name is Hazan Habashi. I go by Z. It's much easier for people to remember.
Okay.
I have the finance and sales background. I came, actually, I was born in Egypt.
Okay.
Came to the United States in 1996. Joined a few jobs, and then came to full-time cars in 2000. Finance and management. Here I am, attending the exciting class.
What's your favorite thing about the car business?
My favorite things about the car business is interacting with people, energizing salespeople, and be there when they need.
Sure. Very good. Thank you, sir.
My name is Terrell Stevenson. I've been with the company going on 6 years now.
Okay.
Florida Fine Cars has been basic. I did a couple jobs before here, nothing crazy, food service, a couple call centers. But Florida Fine Cars was the first place I stuck. I started in the detail department and eventually moved over to sales, and now I'm in management, and it's been awesome. Awesome team, awesome ride. My favorite part about the car industry is basically it's a team effort. You get to help people, and you're really changing their lives, because a lot of times this is like the biggest moment that they've had thus far, like the first purchase that they've made, and just gonna be with them for a while. So you're gonna be a part of their lives indirectly for the next 4, 5, 6 years. So just knowing that, and the fact that people actually are proud of it, and they'll actually send somebody your way is kind of cool. So
That's great, man. I actually had the pleasure to meet a couple of general managers that started in the detail department. And same thing, they've worked their way all the way up. So my name is Tim Pollock. Before I get into a little bit of my side of what I just asked you to tell me, I want to tell you a quick story. I'm very big on stories, and part of the reason for that is I feel that throughout my career and even growing up, every time that there was a story told, I could relate a lot more, and it kind of stuck to me, right? It wasn't just words. I could always have a story that kind of linked to things. So I'll take just a couple of minutes to tell you a quick story that's gonna directly correlate with why I do what I do today. But before I do that, I want to ask you, have any of you heard of Samuel Pierpont Langley before? No? No worries. Most people haven't. So everybody knows what they do, right? 100%. Even me, I joined my first dealership. I was 21, 22 years old, fresh out of college, and I knew what I did, right? I was a car salesman. But very few people, organizations know why they do it. And I don't need to make a profit. It's the result, right? Why do we do what we do? Why do we get up in the morning, and why should people care? See, inspired people and organizations all think, act, and communicate the same from the inside out. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The goal is not to hire people who need a job, right? The goal is to hire people who believe in what you believe. If you hire someone who needs a job, they'll work for your money. But if you hire someone who believes in what you believe, they work with blood, sweat, and tears. They work with purpose. They're willing to give up who they are today for who they will become tomorrow, right? And to me, there's no better example than Langley and the Wright brothers. And this story I heard about 10 plus years ago, and it really changed my perception, not only in life, but in the automotive industry. See, Samuel Pierpont Langley was given $50,000 by the War Department to figure out this flying machine. $50,000 back in the early 1900s was a whole lot of money. I'm not a math genius, so I can't translate the money to today, but I can tell you it was a lot of money. He held a seat at Harvard, worked at the Smithsonian, was extremely well connected. He only hired the best people available. The market conditions were absolutely fantastic, and the New York Times followed him everywhere. But none of us knew who Samuel Pierpont Langley was, right? And you're not alone. Most people to this day, I ask them and they've never heard of him. A couple hundred miles away in Dayton, Ohio, we had Orville and Wilbur Wright, who had absolutely none of this recipe for success. They paid for everything from the proceeds of their little bicycle shop, right? But they had a purpose, they had a belief. They believed that if they could figure out this flying machine, they would change the course of the world. Langley was different. He wanted to be rich, he wanted to be famous, right? If you Google, you see people say to this day that every time the Wright brothers would attempt to take flight, they had to take 5 sets of parts because that's how many times they would crash before they came home for supper. And me as a salesperson listening to this, man, I'm thinking ups. Man, my sales manager told me if I take 5 ups, I'm gonna sell 1 of them, right? Everything ends up correlating to what we do some way or another. And eventually, I think it was December 17th, 1903, the Wright brothers took flight and no one was even there to experience it. We found out about it later, right? And to prove that Langley wasn't in it for the right reason, the moment he found out that the Wright brothers took flight, he quit. He could have said that's an amazing discovery and I'll improve upon it, but he wasn't first, he didn't get rich, he didn't get famous, and so he quit. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, right? The Wright brothers team, they worked with blood, sweat, and tears because they believed in the dream, and at the end of the day, they're the ones that made it happen, right? So you're probably asking, yes, Sam, but what does that have to do with you or the F&I industry at all? I started in the car business, like I said, 21, 22 years old, fresh out of college. My intent was never to sell cars. My whole entire side of my dad's family and most of my mom's family were all in the military. My dad's whole side of the family were in the Navy, all retired Navy. My dad was a pilot for the Navy, now he's a commercial pilot. So after college, I was supposed to join the Navy, right? So I'm talking to recruiters and I'm getting everything going, and it's not an overnight process, right? You don't go to the recruiting office, sign a piece of paper, and you're in. So I'm like, all right, guys, I need a job. I see an ad, back then was on Craigslist. Are you this? Are you that? Do you want to make $10,000 a month? With no company, no business, no industry, nothing. Just a blank ad. Are you this? Are you that? Can you do this? Can you do that? You make 10 grand a month. And I'm reading the ad and I'm like 21 and I can do that. I'm that. That's me. I can make 10 grand a month. That's a lot of money. I call the number. It's an Infinity dealership. And I'm like, great. I love cars, right? You grow up being a little car enthusiast all your life, but I didn't know anything about selling cars. I interview, GM says, Tim, you have a great smile, you're gonna do great, I'm gonna give you a chance. And I really did a good job. I did a very good job. But I was never intended to be in the car business, right? I was supposed to go to the Navy, and I was supposed to go into a pilot program, and I was supposed to follow my dad's footsteps because that's what I was raised to do. My first month, I'll never forget, man. My first month selling cars, I made $8,000 and I didn't even know how to spell a car sale. But every single thing my sales manager told me to do, I did, right? Go back and say ABC, I would run back. ABC, Mr. Customer. Customer would tell me XYZ, I'd go back. Hey, the customer said XYZ. So $8 grand, I tell my dad, hey bro, I love you, but let's put a stop on this Navy thing just for a little while. Let me just put some money in the bank. But the car business was always a job. It was a job that I was never meant to have. It was a job that I did a pretty good job at that paid me good money. I clocked in, clocked out, collected my check and went home. And then I heard that story. And by that time, I'm selling cars for a year or two now. And it really hit me hard, man. It hit me hard because the whole time I'm making great money in the car business, but I'm treating the car business as a job and I'm trying to figure out what do I want to do. And oftentimes we ask ourselves that, what do I want to do? And I found out that that's the wrong question to ask. What we should be asking ourselves is, who do I want to become? Because once you figure out who you want to become, it's very easy to find out what you have to do, right? And I figured out that moment that I had to quit the Langley team and I had to join the Wright Brothers team, right? I had to commit to the automotive industry. I had to be consistent in the automotive industry. I had to work with blood, sweat, and tears and believe in the dream that the automotive industry could give me, because that's the only way that I would elevate myself, and that's the only way that I would turn that position from a job to a career. And I did. And when I did, my life changed dramatically. I worked my way up from salesman all the way up to general manager. And so I held every position inside of the dealership, right? I was a finance manager, I was a sales manager, I was a general sales manager. Then I became a general manager. And oddly enough, I became a general manager at an Infiniti dealership across the state, where I began with the brand many, many years ago. And I get a phone call, so I'm the general manager, I'm living life is good, I'm feeling successful, I've reached all these heights at a very young age, right? And I get a call from a friend of mine saying, Tim, I have a good relationship with the owner of a Ferrari dealership, and he just bought a Maserati in an Alfa store. He's taking his finance director from Maserati, and he's making him the general sales manager for Maserati and Alfa. He now needs a director to be over the 3 locations, Ferrari, Maserati, and Alfa. There's no effort, there's no ads for the position, it's 100% based on referral. I think you'd be perfect for the job, I'm happy to put your name in the hat. You're never gonna be the GM because the GM is the owner. And I said, man, that sounds like the dream job, right? What kid doesn't wanna grow up to work at Ferrari? Which is funny because my dad now loves the McDavid Group. I've been here for 2 years, but he tells me all the time because it's still a pilot. He's like, man, it was so much easier before. I would fly with a new guy and we'd start talking about our kids and, oh, what does your son do? Oh, he works at Ferrari. Wow, that's great. Now it's like, what does your son do? He works for the McDavid Group. Okay, that's great. What's the McDavid Group? You know, he goes, I could fly for 2 hours talking about Ferrari with these other guys, man. Now it's like, oh, he works for the McDavid Group. Great. What is that? And, oh, it's an F&I company. What's F&I? You know? But I got the position at Ferrari. So here I am, man. I've reached all these heights in this industry, right? I've done everything that I was supposed to do. I put in the blood, sweat, and tears. Now I'm at this dream position as the finance director of these 3 phenomenal and well-recognized brands. And we're closed on Sundays. We're closed at 5 on Saturdays. Life is beautiful. A friend of mine works for the McDavid Group, which actually I'll hand you a couple of bucks here. So a friend of mine works for the McDavid Group at the time, and he keeps trying to recruit me. I know I said earlier that I don't care about titles, but I'm telling my friend, buddy, I'm the finance director of a Ferrari store. You want me to go be a warranty rep? Right? Because that's the perception that we have. I swear, man, we're not warranty reps. I'm telling you, we have a great relationship with our dealer groups. We're partners with them. We have a very unique system. Here I am, but look, I love you. But you're trying to show me a shiny pamphlet, right? With, oh, we have this very unique and amazing system that nobody else in the world does or has. I'm like, come on, man, I've been in this business for way too long. It's like, Tim, I'm telling you, our system is very unique. So I'm like, it's so unique, this is 9, 10 o'clock and we're at a restaurant. Your system is so unique, then go ahead, menu me. Teach me something I don't know. Here I am, set in my ways, right? Thinking I've reached all these heights. And he goes over the process that I'm about to go over with you today. And man, it hit me again. 10 years ago, I asked myself, who do I want to become? I answered that question, and it propelled me to where I was today. But I figured out that that question had expired, and I had to ask myself again, who do I want to become, right? Here's a guy at a dinner table that just taught me something when I thought that maybe there was nothing much that I could be taught, right? I had been in this business for way too long. I had achieved way too many things. I was the GM, and I'm very familiar with your side of the business because I was the GSM for 3 years at Off Lease Only in Orlando, which is a similar setup to what you guys have here, right? And at the time when I was there, we were doing 1,200 cars a month out of my rooftop alone. And we were doing 1,500 cars a month during tax season out of that rooftop. And we had a regional GM that used to bounce between stores. So as the GSM, I still ran the whole entire store, right? So I'm thinking I've reached all these heights, boom, I get hit between the legs with something that I've never heard before. And I go home and I talk to my wife and I said, look, every position that I've ever been given in this, what's going on, my man?
Pass now?
You're okay?
Yeah, how you doing?
How are you? Every position that I've been given to, I never wanted it, I turned it down. But I got them because of helping others. So I figured out exactly who I wanted to do, where I wanted to become. So then I left Ferrari Central Florida to come work for the McDavid Group. And I've been here for almost 2 years now. And the reason I tell you that story is I have no doubt that you guys are great at what you do. I have no doubt that you guys are very successful. But like me, I was very successful and I was set on my ways before. I was still able to learn something new. I was still able to apply to that and make me even a little bit more successful. So I just ask you to be a little bit open-minded today. Learn the material. The reason I ask you for that is if you're not comfortable and you fully understand it, you're not going to use it, right? It's just human nature. In order for us to use something consistently, we need to believe in it. We need to understand it, right? Only then will we incorporate it. So that's the only thing I ask of you today. Be a little open-minded when we get to the material and just commit to truly understanding and applying yourself to learn it. And if it works for you, outstanding. If it doesn't, I'm sure that you can pull 1 or 2 things out of there, combined with what you're already doing today, and you have some success. So, this slide, to me, man, is very powerful. So this is off of Google. This ranks just about every position out there, and it ranks them from most trustworthy to the least trustworthy. And this is an actual poll. So look, nurses, they're very trustworthy people, right? I think this is an actual pretty accurate board. Like most people see a nurse and they're like, oh yeah, she's a great human. She's gonna take care of me. Pharmacists, medical doctors, engineers, so on. This is a little bit old. Police officers is way up here. I'm not sure that they're in that same category. I love police, but I think they've come down a couple of notches. Look, all the way down, lawyers, down the list, right? You got insurance salespeople, you have senators, stockbrokers, and then you got us all the way at the bottom of the list, man. Do you think that's a pretty accurate description of us? I don't, but it's the perception, right? It's amazing how people think that stockbrokers and senators are more trustworthy than car salespeople are. So, unfortunately, that's something that we have to deal with on a daily basis coming to work, right? We have to go outside of our way to prove to people that we aren't the least trustworthy people, right? I remember I've never once gotten in a disagreement with my grandfather, man. I love my grandfather, I respect him. And when I first told you guys I was supposed to join the Navy, right? Because that's what my family did. My grandfather's retired Navy. When my dad told my grandfather that I wasn't going to join the Navy because I was selling cars, guess what? The first thing that my grandfather said: car salespeople are between rapists and murderers, and I don't know which one of the three is the worst. Because that's the mentality the old man had. And I'm like, Grandpa, I'm telling you, I don't have to steal, I don't have to cheat, I don't have to lie in order to be a good car salesperson. I'm sorry you had a bad experience in 1989, bro. You know, but things aren't that way anymore. Unfortunately, that's just the reality. And that's why most people come in with a wall, right? They have this sales resistance. So we put together a program that we try to break down that wall, and we try to present our product in a way where the customer doesn't feel like they're being sold. Because the truth is, people love to buy, but they hate to be sold, right? Very often, customers are listening to you. The moment that they begin thinking that you're selling them, what happens? They shut down, right? It's the I got you moment. So there's gonna be 3 parts to this process. I'm gonna go over 2 of them with you today. The first one is the soft touch. We call it a soft touch. Most of the other companies call it an interview, right? That's when, before the customer comes into the F&I office, you go out there, you introduce yourself, you get all the information and so on. Everybody knows how to do that. I'm gonna go over the warranty guide and the single column. So what's a warranty guide? Has anybody seen a warranty guide before? You did, because we're in another class. Has anybody heard of a warranty guide? And look, we've been in this business for so long, right? I started selling cars, I was 21, turning 22. I'm 34 now, so 12 years, 13 years in the business. I've been with the McDavid Group for a year and a half. Until a year and a half ago, I had no idea what a warranty guide was. So inside of every vehicle, there's a warranty book, right? Inside of that warranty book, there's a little tiny book called a warranty guide. It's maybe about 30 pages long, and it tells the consumer every little thing that's covered, that's not covered, and what their responsibilities are inside of that little book. So we use that book to our advantage for a couple of reasons. 1, it's third-party validation. 2, it's not our words, it's the book's words, right? Look, I can meet somebody in a restaurant tonight, man. I'm sitting at a bar, and there's a guy next to me, and we start talking about cars. That guy will talk to me for an hour about cars, and he'll agree with most of the things I say. I meet that exact same guy inside of a dealership, and I tell him the exact same things that I told him at the bar, and he won't believe a word of it, right? Just because of the environment change. At the bar, I'm just a random guy talking about cars. Yeah, I get it, I agree, that's true. We get into a dealership, no. So, what happens when you menu a customer? As soon as you come, bring that menu up. Most people have that wall built, right? Here it comes, this is where he tries to sell me everything. So we try to get away from that. The only way you're gonna get away from that is to introduce in a system that they've never seen before, right? So what we do is we use the warranty guide as an introduction to our menu. Why? Because they're listening to us. We're not selling them anything. And here's what the warranty guide is gonna do. Customer doesn't feel like they're being sold. It's an education, not a presentation. Like I said, it's third-party validation. It's gonna build credibility because you're using the actual manufacturer's words to back up everything that you're saying. And as a matter of fact, we're not using our words at all throughout the script you're gonna see. Every single little thing that we say, it's written almost verbatim on the book. And you're gonna be able to show them that. It shortens the deal time. Why does it shorten the deal time? Because you're following the same process every time with 100% of the customers that they're listening to us. It's gonna reduce errors, and it's gonna lead a customer down a path that we want to, right? The objections that they're gonna give us, we already know that they're gonna give us. So, let me show you this. Where do you do your menu now? Because I know you guys are at the desk right now, right? You're sales managers, but you're in finance. At what point do you do your menu presentation? So you got a deal jacket, right? Customer's ready to come in your office. Customer just walked in. When do you do your menu presentation? And there's no wrong answer. Do you do it right when they walk in? Do you do it at the middle?
I have one process for every customer. This is totally
Gotcha. But the majority of the time, what do you say? You
depends. I
like?
have to go over the buyer's order, the buy rate, the base payment for the customer.
Yeah. So you do a little bit of like the DMV stuff, and
No,
then
first of all, I go and emphasize and make sure whatever has been said outside of the sales desk or the sales showroom is actually right.
Sure.
And everything being confirmed, and everything that they told you out there is still here the same.
and that's gonna save you tons of time.
Of course it does, and builds
Yeah.
rapport, it builds credibility that these people outside are saying the truth, nobody's putting you together over here, it's the same exact numbers,
Yeah.
it's the same exact process, but let's take it further.
Sure.
And then we move forward.
Perfect. And then you either go straight into a manual or you do a little bit of the paperwork.
depends on the customer again. I would like to sometimes, when I sit down and I see a car that is out of warranty, whether it's the mileage or the year, go over the
Yeah.
Carfax real quick, make sure he understands what the basic warranty is or powertrain warranty is, the difference between them. All of this is education, that he understands that you know what you're talking about. So this way,
Yeah.
when you pitch something, or you advise something, or you recommend something, he will first listen to you.
Yeah.
Then he's gonna fight you, and then you're gonna convince him, and then you
And that's why he's the lead director, because that's very similar to what we're gonna do. So here's the thing, my whole entire career, right, F&I career, I used to always, same thing, customer would come in, I go over the buyer's order. One, because you wanna make sure that all the information is correct, right? You don't want 15, 20 minutes into a deal, why isn't my wife's name on here, right? And so you go over that to make sure the numbers are right, addresses are right, all the buyers are correct. After that, I would immediately go into some of my DMV paperwork. Why would I do that back then? Because I needed to build some rapport, right? I needed to kind of gauge my customer a little bit before I hit them between the eyes with my full name, right? So there's a couple of things that this process changed for me. I did it before because I wasn't comfortable saying, hey, my name is Tim Pollock, is this information correct? And boom, here's a menu for you, right? I needed to kind of build some rapport and engage. Rapport is great, guys, but rapport doesn't necessarily works out for you every time. We all know that one salesperson that every single customer says, oh, Johnny's great, I love him. He's coming to dinner on Sunday, but we're not buying the car right now, right? Johnny's great at building rapport. Johnny's great at making friends with the customers, but Johnny can't close the customer. Customer goes to buy a car somewhere else. So too much rapport can sometimes work against us. A friend of mine, big boater, been boating his whole life, has 2 daughters, now they're in their early 20s. This was when she was younger. One of the daughters would never eat fish. Never, ever, ever eat fish in her life. Doesn't matter what he caught, doesn't matter what kind of fish it was, daughter wouldn't take it. One day the daughter comes home and says, Dad, you won't believe what happened. What happened? I ate fish today. And he's like, what do you mean you ate fish? I've been trying to get you to eat fish for 17 years. She went to the boyfriend's house to have dinner. Guess what the boyfriend's mom cooked? Fish. Guess what she didn't have with the boyfriend's mom? Rapport. Guess what she ate? Fish. She didn't feel comfortable enough telling the mom, I'm so sorry, man, but I don't eat fish. I guarantee if that was the 10th time she had been to dinner, she would have said, sorry, ma'am, I don't eat fish. I'll stick with a salad, right? So rapport is great, but we're professionals. We're here to conduct business. We don't need to rely on rapport in order to do our jobs, right? So this is one of the things that I love about this process, because as soon as I learned it, I started doing my presentations in the beginning, right off the bat. Same thing like he said. I would go over my buyer's orders, but I would immediately fall into my presentation because there was no more confrontation. There was no more needing to build that rapport. This process allowed me to go right into it without having to rely on that extra rapport. So here's what we do. We introduce the, let me go into the, so we introduced the warranty guide. We're going to do very similar to what he said, but we're actually going to use the manufacturer's book for it. We introduced the warranty guide with the survey. And we talked about this during our last training, right? Mike Mosier and Sean and Jay, they're kind of coming up with a process, with a way to introduce this a little bit better. Whether it's going to be an email that goes out to all the customers after, or whether they're going to change that into the review that you guys already asked the customer for anyways, right? But when a customer walks into my office and I sit them down and I say, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, has your salesperson gone over the survey with you yet? Whether they say yes or no, doesn't matter, right? Fluid Defined Parts is going to send you a survey. It's going to come in your email in about 7 to 10 days. We strive for perfection on this survey. So if there's anything that we can do better, please let us know before you fill that out. Now, there is a question on that survey that pertains to this portion of the process, and that is, did anyone walk you through your factory warranty guide? I'm going to take just about 3 to 4 minutes to go over with you what's covered, what's not covered, and what you need to do to maintain your coverage. Have I sold anything to the customer? Absolutely not, right? All I told the customer was, hey, you're gonna get a survey. Every customer now knows what a survey is, right? I need a couple of minutes of your time to go over your warranty with you. I just need to explain to you what's gonna be covered, what's not gonna be covered, and what your responsibilities are to maintain those coverages. People are listening to you, right? Which is what we want. We wanna be able to go over that, all that information, and on the back of our minds, kind of picture products while they're listening to us, right? After they do that, I'm actually gonna let me see how we're doing on time. I don't know if we're gonna have time for you to actually go through the role play or not, but I'm just gonna have you, just read it for me out loud one time, each one, just so you can kind of get a feel for it. You can read it.
Okay. Well, I have really a glare here, so I can't see all the words.
Okay. Yeah, it's in your book too.
Okay. First page or?
No, it's gonna be on page 21.
21, good memory.
They're not really the numbers,
Yeah,
but the warranty guide. Yep, there it goes.
As your salesman told you about the survey yet, you will be received a survey for manufacturer asking you how your experience was. It should arrive in your email in about 7 to 10 days. We strive for perfections on this survey, so if there is anything we can do better, please let us know before you fill it out. There is one questions on that survey that partners to this office and myself in particular, and this that is, did anyone?
Has the salesperson told you about the survey yet? You'll be receiving a survey from manufacturer asking you how your experience was. It should arrive in your email in about 7 to 10 days. We strive for perfection on this survey, so if there's anything that we can do better, please let us know before you fill it out. There's one question on that survey that pertains to this office and myself in particular, and that is, did anybody walk you through the factory warranty guide? So I'm going to take 4 or 5 minutes to go through it with you. What's covered, what's not covered, and what you need to do to maintain your coverage.
Yeah, so look, that took 20 to 25 seconds, right? It's not a long time at all. And all we're asking the customer is, hey, please bear with us, guys. We want to make sure that you're educated regarding your warranty, right? So take a couple of minutes. When was the last time you had an F&I manager actually go through everything that's covered, that's not covered? Most of the customers haven't, right? Especially showing on the book. Look, I said this story last time with Jay. I took my wife's Infiniti in for service, and the car was under 12 months and under 12,000 miles, and we're gonna get to there shortly. It's the next page up. But it needed wiper blades. And the service writer is like, hey, we suggest that you do your wiper blades. And I'm like, no, wiper blades are covered. They're like, wiper blades are not covered. I'm like, yes, they are. They're covered under the first 12 months adjustment period. He goes, no, it's not. I was like, get the warranty guide. I grabbed the warranty guide out of the book and I showed him it's covered. And he goes, I didn't even know this book existed. Like the dude is calling, because he knew I was in the business, he's calling his service manager. He's like, look at this. Wiper blades are covered for 12 months. So the point is, a lot of people in the business don't know a lot of this information exists, right? So when we tell the customer these things, they're listening because they've never heard before. So as soon as we give them the introduction of the survey, we're gonna grab the book and we're gonna go over actually what's going on. So the first one is the 12 months, 12,000 miles. They call it the adjustment period. Why are we using Dave or Honda or Mazda or Nissan? We want every single thing here to be third party, guys. It's not us. Because we're gonna be poking holes through a lot of the warranties that are in this book. We're gonna be poking holes through a lot of the things that aren't covered. And we don't wanna be associated with that, right? Look, we're not the ones that doesn't cover this. It's Honda that doesn't cover it. It's Nissan, it's Toyota. So the reason I say that is because a lot of finance managers sometimes have a habit of saying we, we're gonna do this, we can do this, we don't do that, and we don't do anything. It's not we, it's they. So just make sure that you keep that in mind. So the first 12 months, 12,000 miles, Honda calls the adjustment period. So this is the only part, guys, where we had to change it up a little bit for you. Some of your cars are gonna be under the 3-year 36, a lot will be under the 5-year 60. I bet most of your cars are not under 12,000 miles, right? Or 12 months on your inventory. Maybe a few here and there, but the majority are gonna be 3-year 36. Why is it still important that we go over this with them? One, because the vehicle originally came with it, right? And we're letting the customer know, hey, when the car was originally purchased, it came with this. But more important, and I'm gonna say this whole thing like beginning to end so you can see how he actually sounds. We're gonna debunk that bumper to bumper exists during this little section here. Most customers to this day think that their vehicle comes with a bumper to bumper warranty, right? And it doesn't. So we're gonna just kind of throw a soft punch in there, letting them know that that doesn't exist. So I'm gonna go from the top, so it sounds more fluid for you guys. Jay, has your salesperson gone over the survey with you yet?
Yes.
Okay, great. So Florida Fine Cars is gonna send you a survey. It's gonna come in your email in about 7 to 10 days. We strive for perfection, Jay. So if there's anything that we can do better, please let us know before you fill that out. Now there is gonna be a question on that survey, Jay, that pertains to this portion of the process, and that is, did anyone walk you through the factory warranty guide? I'm gonna take just about 3 to 4 minutes to go over with you what's covered, what's not covered, and what you need to do to maintain that coverage, okay? So now I have my book with me. So your vehicle actually comes with multiple different warranties, Jay. I'm gonna go over the 3 main ones with you today. The first one is the 12,000 miles, and Honda called this the adjustment period. If you were gonna call anything bumper to bumper, Jay, this would be it. If the car originally had any weird noises, if the car pulled to the left, to the right, belts, hoses, wiper blades, just about everything was covered under that period with the exception of physical damage. So we're using that little section just to say, hey, if the original owner heard any of these issues, these things were addressed under the 12 months, because this is the most close thing that exists to a bumper-to-bumper warranty. There is no such thing as a bumper-to-bumper. Once we're done with that, we're going to the 3-year 36. Once the 12/12 expires, you have the remainder of your 3-year 36,000 miles limited factory warranty. Now, most of your vehicles are actually going to fall towards this criteria, right? So you can show them, and it's going to be on the book. Now, you can either grab the book from the car, guys. If the car doesn't have it, we have a digital version for every single manufacturer out there. So it might not match the year identical, but you can use an Acura for an Acura, right? So after the 12/12 expires, you have the remainder of your 3-year 36,000 miles limited factory warranty. It is limited to time, limited to mileage, and limited to manufacturer defects only. And that's going to cover your mechanical, electrical, and high-tech components, such as you want to name 2 or 3 things that are in that customer's car, right? Like your Bluetooth, your navigation, your air conditioning, power windows, power seats, so on. I try to veer from super technical terms here, because a lot of finance managers get too fancy. Well, this is gonna cover your, and then they start naming parts that you've never heard before. If you've never heard before and the customer never heard before, chances are that they don't think it's important, right? Once we jump through that, you're gonna go over the 5-year 60, and I'm gonna do all 3 for you guys. But here's the main idea of the process. We introduce the survey, customer is listening to us. While the customer is listening, we're going to tell them exactly what's covered and what's not covered in that vehicle, and then we're going to transition into a menu. By the time we transition into a menu, our menu is going to be 45 seconds long, because we spent 4 minutes kind of pitching and selling all of our product beforehand. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the idea behind it. Spend 4 minutes going over and pitching all your product when they're listening to you. And then when they run the risk of stop listening to you, because now we're in the menu side, it's going to be 45 seconds, you're in or out. We do a single column menu, we present 100% of the products 100% of the time, and we let the customer tell us no. The ones that say yes, they buy everything. The ones that say no, then we have ways to kind of go back and assist them in choosing some products. But if we don't give them the option 100% of the times, we never know if they're going to buy it or not. We do more than just classes, right? So We sell cars, we spin deals on a daily basis. We go to stores and we sit in with finance managers. So during training, it's not me and you and I'm telling you, you do this, you do that. I'll actually come in, I'll take the customer, I'll do the menu, I'll sell the product while you sit and watch, so you can kind of see how I do versus what you do, and we work to find a way that works best for all of us, right? So we present everything every time. I get a customer and it's at a Ford store in the Panhandle, and the guy's trading in an F450 diesel. Now, call is capped. The guy can only buy gap and service contract because of the negative equity that he's rolling over. Finance manager's already, man, we can only do this. Why are we gonna waste time? I'm like, buddy, we're training. I do 100% of the process 100% of the time. I don't know that the guy's gonna choose anything other than a service contract and a gap anyways, right? But I'm gonna offer everything. So we get them in the office. I present the whole process, exactly how I'm gonna do it for you here, beginning to end, so you see. Get to the end of the presentation, customer says, sounds great, Tim, I'll take it. And the guy looks at me like, holy moly, what do we do now, bro? Like, we can only do service contract and gap, and this guy just bought 8 products. I'm like, now we do our job, bro. We had a 0% plan. We were able to get the guy financed anyways. I'm like, sir, great news. You can do the gap and service contract to your lender. We have a 0% that you can finance all the rest of the product. Great. Guy bought it on and was happy. That's not the point. The point is, after the customer left, the finance manager comes to me and says, yeah, bro, that guy was a laydown. And I said, you are correct. Perhaps he was a laydown, but the difference is, if you didn't follow the process, if you didn't present 100% of the products, you would have sold them gap in a service contract, and you would have walked out of that office pounding your chest that you maximized your deal, right? I held my 2 points, I sold the gap, and I sold the service contract. Now the guy bought 8 different products because he followed the process. You know what I'm saying? We had another deal. Finance director had never seen the process. So 80-something-year-old guy paid cash for a Honda Civic, man. So right away, look, we're not Superman. You know what I'm saying? We take just as many no's as we do selling products. There's people that we sell everything to, and there's people that won't buy a popsicle from us, right? We don't claim to be the greatest F9 people in the world. We simply follow the process every time. 80-something-year-old guy buying a Honda Civic cash. Right away, what do I start doing? Trying to justify to the director, look, bro, I know you want to see the process, and I'm going to do it just so you can see it, but this guy's 85 years old, he's paying cash. He traded a 15-year-old car with 50,000 miles. I'm already justifying, right, to the director why this might not be a deal. But I'll do the whole process so you can see it anyways. We do the process, director sitting there watching, the old man goes, sounds great, I'll take it. Everything. The whole entire enchilada. It was like $6,500 worth of product on a $20,000 car, right? So he's spending 20% of the car's value on the check. Guess what? These are 2 completely different dealerships, guys. 2 completely different states. Guess what the director says as soon as the customer walks out of the room?
It was a laydown.
That guy was a laydown. And I'm like, you're correct. He was a laydown. But you would have never offered him $6,500 worth of product on a $20,000 car. You know what I'm saying? So the great thing about the process is that it works more often than not. So look, you're only going to get 2 or 3 people out of 10 that will say yes to everything. But that's 2, 3 out of people, 2, 3 people more than what you're doing now, selling everything, you know. And the other 7, we just work the process, man. So once we get over with the 3-year 36, we go into the 5-year 60. After this expires, Mr. Customer, you have what's remaining of your 5-year, 60,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Again, it's limited to time, limited to mileage, and limited to manufacturing defects. This is going to cover all the internal lubricated parts of your engine and transmission. Very simple, right? Like I told you guys, I apologize. This is a 3-day class that we're trying to cram into 90 minutes, so it's a little like fast-paced, but we got to get through it. So what do we do in this first part, guys? All we did was introduce the survey and tell them what's covered on the vehicle, right? so I'm gonna do the whole thing for you, just so it's fluid so you can hear it through. Jay, has your salesperson gone over the survey with you yet?
No.
Okay, great. Florida Fine Cars is gonna send you a survey. It's gonna come in your email in about 7 to 10 days. We strive for perfection on that survey, Jay. So if there's anything that we can do better, please let us know before you fill that out. Now, there is a question on that survey that pertains to this portion of the process, and that is, did anyone walk you through your factory warranty guide? I'm gonna take just about 4 to 5 minutes to go over with you what's covered, what's not covered, and what you need to do to maintain your coverage, okay? So, when the vehicle was purchased new, Jay, it came with multiple different warranties, right? I'm gonna go over the main 3 with you today. The first one is the 12-month, 12,000 miles, and Honda calls this the adjustment period. So if the original owner heard any weird noises, if the car's pulling to the left, to the right, belts, hoses, wiper blades, just about everything was covered over that period with the exception of physical damage, right? So if you were to call anything bumper to bumper, Jay, this period would have been it. Now once that expires, you have the remainder of your 3-year, 36,000 miles limited factory warranty. It is limited to time, to mileage, and to manufacturer defects, Jay. And that's gonna cover the mechanical, electrical, and high-tech components, such as your backup camera, your Bluetooth, your air conditioning, power windows, locks, and so on, as long as it fails due to manufacturer defect or workmanship, okay? Now, once that expires, Jay, you have the remainder of your 5 years, 60,000 miles, as you can see here on the book, limited factory warranty as well, and that's gonna cover all the internal lubricated parts of your engine and transmission. Any questions on what's covered, Jay? No, great. How long did that take me? Like a minute and a half, right? And I'm using the manufacturer's book, and all I'm doing is telling the customer what's covered. Are they still listening to me? Most likely, right? I haven't tried to sell them a single thing. I told them I'm doing exactly what I told them I was gonna do. Hey, I'm just gonna go over your warranty with you. So now we go into the what's not covered. This part is almost more important because this is the part that we're actually going to sell all of our product without selling it. It's amazing. The book actually has a section that says what is not covered. And it doesn't matter which manufacturer book you take, it's going to say not covered. And it's going to list all of the items that we're about to go through. So, any questions on what's covered here?
No.
Great, so let's talk about what's not covered. First is misuse and abuse. That means don't tow a boat with your Honda Civic and expect Honda to fix the engine once it blows up, right? Are we selling anything that has to do with misuse and abuse? No, right? No, we don't have a product that protects them from misuse and abuse. The reason we're throwing that out there is because we don't want this section to look 100% like we're trying to sell them something, right? Every single item we name just so happen to see every single item on our menu. You want to have a couple of things in there that's really just information for the customer. Alterations. Any alteration has to be done at a Honda dealer with Honda parts, otherwise, obviously, those aren't covered, right? That has nothing to do with anything we're selling either. And the reason we put both of this in the beginning is because mentally, the customer's still trying to figure out when are they going to try to sell me something. Now we just went into the second portion and they're like, all right, you're not selling me anything. You're still listening, right? Now is when we start selling without selling. We start poking holes into the items that the manufacturer doesn't cover, but we have protections for while they're still listening. Next is tire and wheels. Tires and wheels are not covered, so if you happen to hit something on the road that damages the tire or the wheel, Mr. that's not going to be covered, right? We have a product for that, correct? Keys. This is the only one, guys, that I put a little story on. Let me rephrase that. Some finance managers, when they're going over the what's not covered, they have to fight the urge not to get too deep into stories and start selling, because we've been taught to sell our whole lives, right? Sell, 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 sell. We want to keep the customer neutral here. So I don't want to tell too many stories because then it sounds like we're trying to push the product on the customer. This is the only one that I throw a little bit of story there. That's just kind of to break up a little bit of the presentation. I don't agree with this, but your key fob isn't covered from day one. I'm not sure if it's because it's not attached to the vehicle, it can easily be dropped. For some reason, key fobs are not covered. And then 9 out of 10 customer goes, I can't believe a key fob's not covered, right? Most people assume that their key is covered under the warranty. Physical damage. Physical damage is not covered. That includes ABC. So the next one coming up is pretty big. So before we read that, I'm just gonna do the presentation again for you. The reason I keep doing it, guys, because it sounds, you can relate a lot more if you hear the whole thing, right? Any questions on what's not covered, Jay?
No.
Great. So misuse and abuse isn't covered. That means don't tow a boat with your Honda Civic and expect Honda to fix the engine if it blows up, right? Pretty easy. Alterations. If you happen to want to do any alterations to your car, Jay, you have to take it to a Honda dealer. You have to use Honda parts. Otherwise, obviously, those aren't going to be covered, right? Keys are also not covered, Jay. I personally don't agree with this. I'm not sure if it's because they're not attached to the vehicle or they can easily be dropped, or for some reason, Honda doesn't feel that the key should be covered. Tires and wheels aren't covered. Hit anything on the road that damages the tire or the wheel, that's not going to be covered, right? Any dings, dents, environmental damage to the exterior, rips, tears, burns on your interior, Jay, that's not going to be covered as well. And then you fall into this big one, man. And that's why I gave you guys the book, because this is a lot of memorizing. Normal wear. So let me ask you a question. What do you think about when I say normal wear?
Bits, brakes, tires, batteries.
Right? What do you think most customers are going to think about when we say normal wear? If that's what we think about.
Brakes,
They're going to think about the same thing, right? Wearable items. That is not what we're talking about here. This section is big because this is the section that's going to sell your service contract. This is the section that's going to help you sell your warranty. Normal wear is also not covered, Mr. Customer. And guess what? Guess where we got this from? The book. The book clearly states normal wear is not covered, but the book also breaks down exactly what they mean by that. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, remember I told you that your warranty was limited to manufacturer defects only? Right? Well, there's other reasons why a part can fail. Honda calls this normal wear. Let me explain to you what they mean. How are you driving your vehicle, Mr. Customer? Are you putting way too many miles? Are you barely driving at all? Are you too heavy on the brakes or too heavy on the gas? That can all affect how a part wears out, right? It's actually, if you guys ever get a Honda book, on page 33, it's either 33 or 37. On the bottom of the page, it actually says, your vehicle, a lot like a human, needs regular exercise in order to perform better. It's literally written on the book. Most people think, oh, I'm not driving the car at all, right? Well, that's bad for the car. Just like driving too much is bad, driving too little is also bad, and it's right here on the book. So again, we're just reporting the news. All we're doing is educating the customer based on what the book says, but in the back of our minds, we're selling all of these products because we're gonna have a solution for it. And once I do the full presentation for you, it will sound a lot better. So how are you driving your vehicle? Are you heavy on the gas, heavy on the brakes? Do you drive excessive mileage? Or do you rarely drive at all? That can all affect how our part wears out, right? Where are you driving your vehicle, Mr. Customer? Driving through dirt roads or speed bumps or potholes, that also affects how a part wears out, right? And climate plays a large part in the wearing of parts. What do you think would happen if you left your cell phone and your laptop in your vehicle for a couple of weeks? You'll probably ruin it, right? Heating and humidity aren't good for electronics. Honda knows this. Obviously, they can't tell us where to drive or where to live, correct? All we're doing here, guys, is telling them that the factory warranty sucks. And the factory warranty doesn't cover much, right? And when you bring your vehicle in for service, the manufacturer holds the right to say this broke because of workmanship or this broke because, look, your AC is not working because we put a bad AC in. Your AC is not working because it's 200 degrees outside and you've been running this thing at 60 degrees 24/7, right? So we're not saying whether the manufacturer is going to fix it or not. We're just saying that they hold the right to choose whether they do or not. And it's not us saying it, it's the book, it's written, it's their words. So when I was working at Ferrari, this is a true story, man. And I thought it would happen at any other dealership in the world except Ferrari. And this actually happened there. You ever heard of the term sticky buttons?
Yeah.
So, my office was right here, literally, like this was my office, and right next door was the service manager's office. So his door was open 24/7. I could hear and see everything, right? And all the time customers would come in with these Ferraris, my dash is melting. My wife tries to turn on the radio and her finger literally sticks to the button. So they nicknamed it sticky buttons, right? So apparently for many years, now the new models have changed, but for many years, the material that Ferrari sprayed on their dash, when it was under extreme heat, it will literally start to melt. So you go in, and you kind of saw that on BMWs a lot too, like the BMWs where, you know, that material would begin to disintegrate and you could see the buttons and stuff. So customers would come in from service and say, hey, I just paid 350 grand for this thing, and my freaking buttons are falling apart. And they would say, sorry, that's got nothing to do with us. It's 10 grand in order to strip it all down and respray it with a new material. You in or you out? I'm calling Ferrari, this is ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. And Ferrari would turn down the claim every time. And what Ferrari would say is, that is normal wear. It is not my fault that you live in Florida. It is not my fault that you don't have an air-conditioned garage to keep your vehicle in. We don't have that problem with our customers in Tennessee. We have that problem with our customers in Florida that leave the car outside 200 degrees all day, every day, right? So they hold the right. It's written, plain and simple. It's not due to installation, it's not due to workmanship, it is normal wear. The part wasn't made to last forever, and there's things that you could have done in order to keep that from happening, and you didn't. So pay 10 grand and we'll have it resprayed for you. Or if you want, we can trade you out and get you another one, right? But the point is, you would think Ferrari would take care of these people, right? Because of the brand and the price range. But warranties are warranties, guys. And they won't be around. So this is all we're telling the customer. We're not talking about normal wear and tear items. We're just telling the customer that, hey, there is such thing as normal wear. If there's a huge pothole in front of your house and you hit that pothole every single day going to work and back, and now your suspension breaks, it has nothing to do with our car. It has to do with you kept running over a pothole, right? And it's gonna make sense to you in a little bit while we do that. So that's our whole entire what's not covered. So we told the customer what's covered, they're 12/12, they're 3-year 36, and they're 5-year 60, or whatever car it is, right? You're gonna look up on your Carfax and see what the actual warranty is. Then we go into the what's not covered. What's not covered? Misuse and abuse, alterations, tire and wheel, keys, ding dents, exterior, and your normal wear items. Now we're simply gonna touch on the maintenance. Here's the thing with the maintenance. Are you guys selling maintenance here? No, right? So you're not selling maintenance, so you don't have to spend a lot of time on this because it's not a product that you're putting there anyways. But it is part of what they have to do to maintain their coverage. So I will just touch on it very simply. Mrs. Customer, any questions on what's not covered? No, great. So let's talk about your responsibilities to maintain that coverage. You need to make sure that your vehicle is serviced, right? You're gonna bring your vehicle into a dealership every 5 months or 5,000 miles. They're gonna do a systematic oil change, tire rotation, multiple inspection, and you're down the road motors. I wouldn't get too complex into the maintenance just because you're not selling it. Just let them know that, hey, it's their responsibility to make sure that that's there. And then we go into the maintenance. So I'm gonna do the whole warranty guide presentation for you. We're running out of time, and then we'll get into the main. The main presentation will be 45 seconds long, guys. So, and you can time this if you want, but I think it should take 4 to 5 minutes for the whole thing. So Jay, let me get a sip of water. This guy got a camera on me, can't have a dry throat. Skate. Jay, has your salesperson gone over the survey with you yet?
Yes.
Okay, great. So Florida Fine Cars is gonna send you a survey. It's gonna come in your email in about 7 to 10 days. We strive for perfection on this survey, Jay. So if there's anything that we can do better, please let us know before you fill that out. Now, there is a question on that survey that pertains to this portion of the process, and that is, did anybody walk you through your factory warranty guide? So I'm gonna take just about 4 to 5 minutes to go over with you what's covered, what's not covered, and what you need to do to maintain your coverage, okay? So when this vehicle was purchased new, Jay, it came with multiple different warranties, right? I'm gonna go over the 3 main ones with you today. The first one is the 12-month, 12,000 miles, and Honda called this the adjustment period. If the original customer heard any weird noises, if the car is pulling to the left, to the right, belts, hoses, wiper blades, just about everything was covered under that period, Jay, with the exception of physical damage. So it's safe to say that if you were gonna call anything bumper to bumper, this would be it, right? Now, once that expires, as you see here on the book, Jay, you have the remainder of your 3-year, 36,000 miles limited factory warranty. It is limited to time, limited to mileage, and limited to manufacturer defects only. That's gonna cover your high-tech mechanical, electrical, and electronics, such as your backup camera, your navigation, your Bluetooth, air conditioning, and so on, as long as they fail due to manufacturer defect or workmanship. Once that expires, you have the remainder of your 5 years, 60,000 miles, again, limited to time, mileage, and manufacturer defects. That covers the internal lubricated parts of your engine and transmission. Any questions on anything that's covered here on the book, Jay? Great. So let's talk about what's not covered. Misuse and abuse. That means don't tow a boat with your new Civic and expect Honda to fix the engine once it breaks up, right? Any alteration has to be done at a dealership with OEM manufactured parts, otherwise those aren't covered as well. Tire and wheels aren't covered, Jay. Hit anything on the road that damages the tire or the wheel, that's obviously not going to be covered, right? Keys aren't covered. I personally don't agree with this, but Honda doesn't cover your keys from day one. I'm not sure if it's because it's not attached to the vehicle, it can simply be dropped. For some reason, they don't feel it should be covered. Any dings, dents, environmental damage to the exterior, rips, tears, burns in the interior, that's not covered as well, Jay. Now, normal wear is also not gonna be covered, Jay. Now, remember I told you that your warranty was limited to manufacturer defects only? There's other reasons why a part fails, right? Honda calls this normal wear. And I'll give you a couple of examples to explain what they mean. How are you driving your car, Jay? Are you heavy on the gas? Are you heavy on the brakes? Are you driving way too many miles? Are you barely driving at all? That can all affect how a car wears out, right? Where are you driving the car? You're going through a lot of dirt roads or potholes or speed bumps. That also affects how a car wears out, right? And climbing here for us is a big one, Jay. What do you think would happen if you were to leave your cell phone or your laptop in your vehicle for a couple of weeks?
It would break.
You'll probably ruin it, right? Heating and humidity aren't good for electronics. Honda knows this. Obviously, they can't tell us where to live or where to drive our cars, right? Any questions on what's not covered, Jay? Great, so let's talk about your responsibilities to maintain those coverages. You're gonna bring your vehicle in every 5 months or 5,000 miles to the dealership. You're gonna get a full synthetic oil change, tire and rotation, and a multi-point inspection. Multi-point inspections, Jake, used to be just kind of topping off some fluids, a little grease here and there. Now they'll actually plug your vehicle into a computer, just like they would your iPhone. Any questions on that? Great, now we're on the main. So how long was that?
Less than 5.
Less than 5 minutes, right? And we did exactly what he said, which he has a way that he does it, right? We're just kind of giving you a word track and a guideline to it. So customer comes in, you take 5 minutes to simply explain to them what's covered, what's not covered, and what they need to do to maintain your coverage. But really, guys, what we did during that time was we showed them the imperfections in the warranty, right? We made them look and see in the book all the items that weren't covered, which gives us credibility whenever we're trying to sell this product during the menu now. We're simply giving them a solution to a problem that the manufacturer left out, right? So going into the menu, transitions are very important. Transitions are very important because it slows the customer down a little bit, but it also lets them know where we're going next, right? So, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, any questions on what's not covered? No, great. Based on customer feedback, Ford Defined Car has put together a program that's designed specifically to fill in the gaps where the manufacturers left off. We call this the Preferred Program. You guys are still trying to figure out, right, what you were going to call it? The Total Care Package, okay. So, I'll do it again so I can do it right for you. Any questions on what's not covered, Jay? Great. So based on customer feedback, Jay, Ford Defined Cars has put together a program that's designed specifically to fill in the gaps where the manufacturer left off. We call this the Total Care Package. The first thing that it does, Jay, is removes that word limited. Remember I told you that your warranty was limited to 3 years or 36,000 miles? You told me you were gonna keep the car around 5 years and probably put 70 or 80,000 miles. Now you're covered throughout that whole time. Also, Jay, your factory warranty was limited to manufacturer defects only. Now it does not matter why a part breaks, you're covered, even if it is due to normal wear. So why don't we just tell the customer that? Look, your warranty, your factory warranty, even though your car is still under factory warranty, these things can be declined, right? But don't worry, because if they are declined, this warranty that you're purchasing now does not care why the part broke. It doesn't care that it was normal wear. It doesn't care that it was workmanship. It doesn't care that it was installation. All the warranty cares about is it's broke, we're gonna fix it, right? As long as it's a covered part. So, why are you looking at me?
That's not true.
What do you mean?
It's not true, bro. So if, for example, United Parking, the warranties that we sell, you talk to the warranty.
TWS, I'm talking about.
Only TWS?
Well, we sell TWS, right?
So you're talking, this presentation is only, the first point, which is, even if it broke because of normal wear and tear, you gotta cover it.
Yeah,
So
so
now, with regarding alterations as well, are you also gonna cover that? Because that's a big thing.
no.
No.
And that's why we covered it in the beginning, right? If you're gonna do alteration, it has to be done at a Honda store with Honda parts. If it's a manufactured part installed, then yes, but if it's an aftermarket, they're not gonna do it. But that's why here, the script is very, so the number one thing it does is remove the word limited. Remember the factory warranty was limited to 3 or 36, blah, blah, blah. But then you go here to, also, the factory warranty is limited to defects only. Now it does not matter why a part breaks, they fix it, even if it is normal wear. So all they're saying is, they're not talking about alterations, they're just saying, hey, your warranty doesn't cover normal wear, but
TWS does.
TWS will cover normal wear. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, so for example, the Ferrari thing, right? If the sticky button would have been a covered part under your normal contract, Ferrari said no, but the warranty would have said yes, because that part, now if it's not a covered part, then it doesn't matter why it broke, right? But if it's a covered part, then TWS will.
And it's important to know the difference between normal wear and negligence.
Exactly.
So if you're off-roading in your Honda Civic, that's just negligent. But if you're driving your car on a regular basis, let's say you drive 30,000 miles a year, that's normal for you, but a part might wear out a little bit quicker.
Yep, that's exactly right. Yeah, they're not gonna cover anything due to neg, right? Same thing goes to, you didn't change your oil for 15,000 miles, you know what I'm saying? And they're like, well, that's not normal wear, that's negligence. You just failed to completely take care of the car. So here's the thing that's a little bit different on your script versus what I'm gonna say. So the pages that you have, the single column manual, he actually gives you like a paragraph on every single item you sell. I personally don't do that, and here's why. One, I just spent 4 minutes talking to this person about all these things, right? And look, we only have people's attention whether we're selling or not for a limited amount of time, right? If we start going, wait, if I turn this class into an 18-hour thing for you, there's a time where you just zone out, I'm done. Customers are the same way. So now we capture their attention for the 4 minutes that we're going over. Now we're on borrowed time. My manual presentation is 45 seconds long. Why do I make it 45 seconds long? I just spent all this time explaining all of these things. If I start making it too complicated and explaining all over again, the customer's like, come on, buddy, I gotta go. I don't feel that I need to overcome objections that haven't been given to me yet, right? The customer hasn't said no, they haven't objected to anything, so why am I gonna try to sell all of this product so hard and try to overcome all these objections ahead of time when the customer hasn't given me any? So I try to make my menu as quick, clean, as crisp as possible. That's why I'm very thorough during those 4 minutes. So my menu, personally, my menu goes like this. Any questions on what's not covered yet? Great. Based on customer feedback, Florida Fine Cars has put together a program that's designed specifically to fill in the gaps where the manufacturers left off, right? They call this the total care package. The first thing that it does, Jay, is removes that word limited. Remember I told you that your warranty was limited to 3 years or 36,000 miles? Earlier you told me you're gonna keep the car 5 years, you're gonna put 70 or 80,000 miles. So now you're covered throughout that whole time. Also, your warranty was limited to manufacturer defects only. Now it doesn't matter why a part breaks, they cover it, even if it is due to normal wear. Now, next one here, Jay, you have your gap. In case your car is in a total loss, whether it's an accident, theft, or environmental, the insurance company doesn't give you enough to pay off that loan, Gap is gonna assist you with that, right? Do you guys have a deductible here? Does it cover
Of course, $1,000 is up.
$1,000? It's also gonna cover your deductible up to $1,000. Now, in order to bring more value to our customers, Jay, we pair Edge with Gap, and that's gonna give you an additional $5,000 benefit should your vehicle be stolen and not recovered. Now, it is considered an anti-theft, so please be sure to call your insurance company. You may be able to save a couple of dollars there. Also, remember I told you that your tire and wheel, your keys, your ding and your dent, and your maintenance wasn't covered? Now, everything's covered for the next 5 years, should you choose the total care package. Here's your payment at 60 months, here's your payment at 72 months. Tell me which one works best for you. So, see, the menu is very quick. But I make it very quick for a reason, because now they're listening, now they know I'm selling, right? So I want to go quick. Here's the advantage we have. Most customers are used to a 4-column menu, right? They've done a 4-column menu their whole entire life. So when you pull out that 4-column menu, they know, here it is. We do a single column. It's only one option, all the way at the end. A lot of times I do my whole presentation with my menu right here facing up. I'm not even hiding, and most customers won't even look at it, just because to them it's a piece of paper. They've never seen that before. If I did that with my 4-column menu, I couldn't talk because they're staring at it the whole time. I had to leave it down, not because I'm trying to hide it, but because otherwise I'm talking and they're like this, looking at it, you know? So the single column menu, it's a lot faster, as you can see, right? It's a lot easier, it creates a lot less confusion, but it gives the customer the ability to say yes or no to everything that you have to offer, right? Versus the 4-column, some finance managers are better than others with the 4-column, right? Some are great, some not so much, but a lot of the times the customer tends to veer to those cheaper columns, right? Because it's nature, like, well, what is this one? The single column, you're doing every single product. Look, 7, 8 people are gonna tell you no on the single column, right? And we know that. We know they're going to say no. But now we can not choose for them. Remember, people love to buy, they hate to be sold. All the time, we have customers that say, no thanks, I appreciate it. Absolutely not. Actually, I have a slide there for, there you go. And what happens? We tell the customer, here's the thing, the one thing I don't like about the 4-column menu. The cheaper column, what's typically in that column? What we want to sell to the customer, right? What we think that the customer should buy based on the interview we did. Hey, this guy drives a lot of miles, he needs tire and wheel, he's not putting any money down, he needs Gap, and I want to sell my warranty, so then I put Gap warranty, tire and wheel, right? But the reality is, that might not be what the customer sees value in. See, I don't have a problem selling, and I am going to try to go sell all those products that I want to sell, but I don't want to take away the products that they see value in. Like, I asked a lady one time, I'm like, ma'am, I completely understand. Most of the time, here's the very important part. Most of the time when the customer tells me no, it's for 1 or 2 reasons. Either I didn't explain it properly or it's the cost. Which one is it for you? What do you think most customers say? It's the cost, right? We want them to verbalize it. We want them to tell you it's the cost because they're saying, okay, so you do see that it's not the product, it's not me explaining to you, if you don't want to pay for it, right? It's too much money. But you want them to tell you it's the cost. Great. I understand. We got to align ourselves with them. I understand, Mr. Customer. Everyone has a budget. You know yours better than anyone, right? However, putting cost aside, if you were to choose 2 or 3 of these products, which ones do you see the most value in? Most of our customers see value in 2 or 3, right? You just want them to tell you what they see value in, putting cost aside. And dude, you'd be amazed at what people tell you. One lady was like, well, I really like the dent. And I'm like, the dent? Like, You know what I'm saying? They're like, but this lady that I'm talking about, she goes, I'll take the dent and the etch.
I do exactly that. However, I just do it as, if you're gonna put priorities, you're gonna choose 3
Yeah.
products that are most important, and they're free today. What would they be? And then
Sure.
that's it, and then, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
Because here's the thing, doesn't mean he's not gonna go back for his warranty, his other stuff, but now he knows, hey, she sees value in these 3 things, so I can close this up, right? So what I personally do is, and this is why I love doing my menu in the beginning. Because, so let's say the lady told me gap patch and dent, and I'm like, the 3 most, all right, that's fine, right? Great choice. Here's your payment with the gap patch and the dent, right? I stopped selling there. Why? At this point, I haven't sold her anything, right? She chose those 3 products. I gave her the new payment. She's happy. Here's another thing. I wish I had a board. Here's another thing I love about doing the single column. What do you think the average bump is on a full column? So the payment is $400, right, with nothing. I try to present every single item on there. What do you think the average bump is?
99
$100, right? So if to get the warranty, the gap, the timing wheel, the ding, the dent, $100. So I just went from 400 to 500, right? Now she wants dent, gap, and etch. What's my payment?
435.
Not even that much, because you're 100 on the whole thing, right? So I'm at 425 as opposed to 500. Now they're looking, see, I love doing one big column because they see that huge number. Anything you present to them now is cheaper. You just went from $550 a month to $425 a month, right? So I let them, I quote, great, sign here saying that you accept this 3. Then I do my paperwork. I'm not done selling, right? She bought those 3. I didn't sell her those 3. All the time, finance managers come out of the office. Even when I was a finance manager, I come out of the office and tell my director, oh, I sold a warranty and gap. They're like, you didn't sell a warranty and gap. He wanted to buy warranty and gap before he walked in your office. He told me he was buying warranty and gap. Just because the customer buys something doesn't mean we sold it, right? I didn't sell the lady gap patch and etch. She chose the 3. But when I'm done with my DMV paperwork and so on, before I get into my contract, I print my accept decline, and that's when I start selling. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, just to go over again, these are the 3 items that you've accepted today. You chose the gap patch, great choice, and you chose the dent because obviously you care how your car looks, right? These are the items that you decline. You decline the warranty, the this, the this, the this, the that. Let me make sure that you understand those. Let's make sure that there's no lingering questions. Now is when I'm going to put my big boy pants on and I'm going to start selling. Why? She already bumped herself on those 3 products, right? Now she already got out of payment. She already forgot about the negotiation in the beginning. This is a second run through. You know what I'm saying? So here's the thing. A lot of people, guys, they block themselves. I already bought 3. I can't buy anymore. So if you keep trying to shove too much in the beginning, you might end up losing it all because then they start second guessing the 3 that they chose. If they chose 2 or 3, stick with those 2 or 3 and start signing papers. Now you got more rapport with them. Now she's kind of gotten away from the 2 or 3 products that they bought in the beginning. Now you come back from round 2. Here's why I think you should buy the warranty. And now you do your typical selling. You know what I'm saying? You bump another 2 or 3 products or even 1 or 2 there. Now you got a lot better penetration, right? But the main purpose of the process is to make sure that in the beginning you do no selling at all. You report the news, right? You share the information that the manufacturer has provided. If they don't say yes to the whole column, you let them choose what they want. And then at the end, I come and then I'm like, all right, now I've been very nice for a very long time. Now I've earned the right to come in and ask for this thing. Because you are not leaving this office without a warranty because A, B, C, X, Y, Z, right? I think that a lot of times we try to do that too early on and then it creates friction and then we end up losing some of the products that we could have picked up, right? Another thing that we do, let's say you got the 3 products in the beginning, right? And you cannot get any more. Don't do the accept decline, let them do it. So just tell the customer, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, one of the things that we do here for Define Cars is we value your time. Let me explain what I mean. I would hate for you to leave this office and me have to call you in 2 days because I missed a bunch of stuff. So, do you mind if I get one of my coworkers to come in, take just 2 minutes, go through the paperwork? We're still humans. Doesn't mean we're not going to call you. Doesn't mean we're not going to make a mistake. But it decreases those margins, right? Do you mind if Johnny comes in and spends 2 minutes just to make sure I didn't miss anything? I have never in my life had a customer tell me no. They're like, I don't have to come back. Hell yeah, go get Johnny right now, right? Johnny comes in, goes through the paperwork, and goes, Z, you were almost perfect. You forgot your accepted client, bro. Johnny prints the accepted client. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, I see that you've accepted ABC. Great choice. I'm very surprised you declined XYZ. Most of our customer opted because of it. You know what I'm saying now? It's a different face. It's a different person. Kind of not only reiterating what you said, but also putting their touch to it, right? Oftentimes, he will come in and he'll pick up an extra product or two for you. But again, the customer doesn't feel they're being sold, right? He's there to make sure. I learned very early in my career, man, that everything you do, the customer has to feel that it's being done for them, right? Nothing we do can be self-serving. Everything we do has to benefit them. So he's in there to benefit them. He's in there to ensure that their paperwork is correct and they don't have to come back. He just so happened to pick up 2 more products for you. You know what I'm saying? So that's the gist of it. So look, the purpose of this class is by no means for you to go downstairs and then just change everything that you do, right? From now on, it's just giving you a different perspective, a different person, and just a different look at things. And look, you might be able to pick up 1 or 2 things from here.
Yesterday, I had a customer walking in, an old guy, Jewish guy, and he asked him for 3%, 3.99. So he sits down and tells me, hey, please don't sell me anything. I said, no, I don't want to sell you anything. I just don't want you to call me in a couple of days begging for something when your car breaks down.
Sure.
So either way, I'm going to present you what I have, so you don't call me back and tell me, hey, why don't you explain that to me?
Mm-hmm.
And after, at the end of it, he bought 3 products. So,
Exactly.
yeah, it depends. Every single customer is different than the other, but the main idea is to make sure he's well informed to make a decision. That's really it.
So look, when I was at Ferrari, it was by far the most challenging finance job that I had, right? Because one, these people can afford anything. So telling them you're saving X amount of dollars, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. You have to really build value, right? Like they really have to see the value. And all of them can self-insure, right? You can't say, well, if your car breaks down, okay, I'll write a check book. So the reason for saying that is because the amount of people that would tell me that, I'm not buying anything, don't waste your breath. Man, it was like 6 out of 10. And in the beginning, I used to struggle because in the beginning, you're used to regular dealerships. Well, in order to stay compliant, they don't care. They don't care, bro. You're not wasting my time.
With Ferraris, mostly you're gonna say that most Ferrari owners, they change the car.
Yeah.
So what you wanna do is hold value from the vehicle.
Exactly.
Value of the vehicle is basically appearance, maintenance, and low mileage.
Yeah. I used to make a living of tying wheel paint too.
Exactly. The big W Boston was the same thing.
But customers would come in and tell me, save your breath, I don't want to hear it. I got really good at this, man, because I did it literally like 6 out of 10 times. Every time a customer told me that, instead of getting combative with them, right, instead of creating friction and losing any possibility I had of selling anything, I would get back on my chair and I stare at the ceiling and I go, thank you so much, Mr. Customer. And they would all look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, thank you so much, Mr. Customer. This is by far the most difficult part of my job. And by you saying I don't have to do it, whew, you just took all the pressure away from me. However, in order to stay compliant, I do have to go over all of this information. So I'll make you a deal. I'll give you the quickest, fastest presentation you've ever heard in your life. You sit there and pretend that you're listening to me just in case my boss walks by. And at the end of it, if you don't see value in anything, you say no and we move on. How does that sound? And these are all very educated Ferrari because they all say deal. Let's do it. And I will do my regular presentation, bro. They have no idea how long my presentation takes, right? But it's just kind of taking a step back. Again, I'm giving them value, right? Look, I have to do this, but in exchange, I'm gonna give you the quickest version that I've ever done in my life. So if I'm speaking too fast and you can't understand, just please bear with me. And I will do my whole presentation. And you'll be amazed, like he said, at the end of it, when they actually listen to it. Well, what about this one?
Not too much.
You know? And look, man, like I said, I made a living out of my tiny wheel, right? My cost was, between my cost to retail, I had $2,000 worth of profit. Because I'm not selling 100 policies, right? I need to make, and customer would say, well, that's a lot of money, Tim. That's not an objection. A lot of times we confuse objections with statements. Customer will tell you, that's a lot of money. It's not, that's a statement. You are correct, sir, it is a lot of money. However, it's less than the cost of one wheel. What? I'm like, yeah, you're literally, it's less than the cost of one wheel and tire. Now you're protecting all four wheels and tires, which is the one thing that's on the ground all day, every day.
BMW, the thing that actually in Boston, because it was a new state for me, the thing that made me like rise above really everyone in BMW North America was the service advisors. So I would get all the bills and all the invoices for brake, for rim prices, for all 3 Series, 5 Series, 7 Series, for everything. So this way, when the customer presents a tire wheel and it tells me it's too much, well, sir, this is it.
Bam.
This is how
There
much
it
it
is.
costs. And then you can sell your stuff.
Yeah.
So
look,
evidence is
Well, I want to share also is my experience. I used to work for Volkswagen. What make my penetration was really high. It goes sometimes to 60%. Is selling a warranty on a lease. Yeah. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
I pretty much in maybe 2008, around that time, it was a prime time for lease for Volkswagen and the iOS and all these, cars. And a lot of customers, they actually love these cars, they want to keep it.
Sure.
So it was the key penetration for me that to add to my portfolio, what's not count as money, it goes from the lease, it goes to your regular penetration, so it makes it very high. So that lease, you know what the customer wants and you actually close them without you having any effort.
And that goes back to listening to the customer, doing your soft touch or interview, getting to know them, and look, like you said, it's benefit, right? You plan on keeping your vehicle past the lease, why not buy the warranty now where it's the cheapest it's ever going to be?
Yeah.
It doesn't need an inspection and you're paying dirt cheap for it, versus later, the vehicle might not qualify, right? If it doesn't pass an inspection, it might not qualify. Now the vehicle's older, has more miles, risk levels are higher, they're gonna charge you more money for it.
Yep.
You know, it's all about listening and creating benefit. But look, I like what he said, right? Because I used to do very similar, have all the service ROs. But it goes back to the warranty guy book, right? Why did those service ROs help him sell? Because even though he's a very trustworthy guy, it's not his word. It's him saying, here's a customer that actually spent $1,295 in service. The warranty book is the same thing. It's us telling the customer, I'm not telling you their warranty sucks, they are. I had a girl, 4 kids, man. And the kids are running around. John Dobrik was there with me. John is trying to like entertain the kids outside of the finance office. And this lady's there. And I go over the presentation and she's like, that warranty is horrible. I don't want that. Do you have a better one? And I'm like, I'm glad you said that. I hadn't even gotten to my menu yet. I'm not even in the menu. I'm like, I'm glad you said that. We're going to get there. But she's already halfway through. She's like, buddy, this sucks. Like, give me some good news here. I want to buy something that I got 4 kids. I can't be on the side of the road. Don't you worry. We got you covered. But that's all it is, man. So this, I know it's a little bit boring and a little bit different because we're trying to cram 3 days worth of class into an hour and a half period. But go through the material. You're going to find things in there that will work for you. You're going to find word tracks that you can kind of put with what you're doing now. I mean, most of what I said today, he's already doing it, you know? But he might find a couple of word tracks or just a couple of ways to introduce it a little differently. I love the survey introduction because people listen, man. You know, people don't combat you and they listen. And when you're trying to pitch your product, they're not They don't have that chip on their shoulders. And that's why I say during the what's not covered, don't get salesy, because customers often will have that I got you moment. You start getting too salesy and they're like, I got you. The only reason you're doing this is to sell me some crap. And you don't want that, you know? You want them to listen to you throughout the whole term. So, any questions, concerns, anything you like, dislike, anything that I can clear up for you?
It was great.
It was really good.
What time is the next meeting?
It's supposed to be 2, which is 2 now.
Yeah.
So that's why I was rushing, man. I was like, I gotta make it. I made it. That was actually right on time.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Well, you know the posture, okay?
Uh-huh.
The way you present yourself, the way you sit down.